All right. So hopefully everyone here is in the right spot. We're going to be covering Google Apps today. If you didn't make it last week to our other class, we held a very similar course, but not exactly the same, on using these Google Apps, all of them which are completely free if you don't want to pay for a business account. And the nice part is you can leverage these tools for your personal life, which is what we showed off last week. But today we're going to focus on how we can leverage these tools for ourselves in the work atmosphere, at the workplace, at our small business. We run a small company. I run a small business, and we use all of these tools. They're going to be shown up here in some form or fashion. So, nothing here is pie in the sky. Nothing here is out of a sales training manual. This is all real life stuff that we've either implemented for others or that we're using ourselves day to day. So that's the real nice part about this. And I like saying that because a lot of people think that, we're just preaching this stuff, just because it's out there. But no, that's not the case. We're eating our own dog food on this. So before we just get started, Ruth introduced us briefly. Thank you, Ruth.
Yes.
Our company, FireLogic, we started a few years ago. We're located right in Park Ridge, right next door over here to Niles. We do a lot of different things, from residential support to business consulting, and our role as a technology consultant or technology helper, we come in and we try to not only help you leverage technologies you're using now, but try to find some of these inefficiencies that that you may have in place, problems that you may be having with your current ways you're doing things, streamline things, save some money. A lot of these cloud tools are not only time savers, but they do save cost on hardware and licensing and all these other things that used to bog down small businesses and make this kind of these kind of pieces of software very tough to get. Yes.
In validation of those kinds of comments about using this in your business or whatever, few years back, I know a library, the entire library, the IT staff put them into Google Docs because that's met their needs, and it obviously saved them a bundle because the people in general who needed the types of software that was available had everything provided for them. So it is a real valid way of going. It's true.
There's a lot of big businesses, from the U.S. government to small businesses to big businesses, that are moving onto this platform. So it's not something crazy like it used to be just a few years ago, where people were saying, well, this cloud thing is so new, maybe it's not what it's all caked up to be. This is the real deal. This is where corporate America is moving. This is where most larger organizations are starting to head. Even small organizations. We work with small businesses primarily, and these are the things that we're helping them do week in, week out. So yes, as I said, we do offer technology help if you need it, both at the home and at the business, wherever else you may work. All right, no technical glitch there. So you don't have to be the one, be the plumber working on your own computer if that's uncomfortable for you. So we offer 10% off as a courtesy to all of our library attendees to our classes. So just mention it when you're scheduling a service call or working with us on a project, and we will be sure to apply that for you. And if you didn't get a business card, I do have one on the table there. One quick thing I want to mention, and this is a big pending, a little bit of doom and gloom, a little bit of a shadow on the computer industry coming up in April of next year. If you have computers that are running Windows XP or the older Office 2003 suites, they are losing support next year. So this is very, very important, especially for healthcare. And this is important for anyone that's under PCI compliance. And PCI compliance is for any business that is taking credit cards over a computer system. You you have to oblige by these regulations. So if your organization is still using these kind of machines after April, you will be losing compliance. And not only that, more for the small business and the home realm, Microsoft is going to be dropping support on these products. A lot of people tell me, well, my computer's still working, can I just not keep using it? Of course you can. It's not like it's going to stop working, but it's going to be you're going to be on your own when it comes to viruses and new security risks that come out. Because once Microsoft drops support, the hackers are going to go wild, and you will potentially be at risk for losing data, getting infected a lot easier than you may be now. So it's time to start thinking about moving off these old platforms. And just to put it in perspective, both the old Office and that Windows XP, they are going on 13 years old already. So Office 2003 is a little bit newer, but XP is about 12 to 13 years old. That's a long time in computer years. So just something to keep in mind for yourself. Some of our upcoming free classes. We got 3 more classes coming up before the year is over, all here at the wonderful Niles Library. Parkridge doesn't want to host us anymore towards the end of the year, so we are doing everything here at Niles. I was just kidding about that.
Yeah, they're just busy. They have other things,
yeah,
so they're using their rooms.
We've got an Android tablet class coming up. It was very popular when we ran it the first time at Parkridge Library about 4 or 5 months ago. We're going to rerun that here at Niles because there's a lot of people with Android tablets out there that just don't know how to use them effectively. So we're going to show you from start to finish how to use your tablet, how to get apps on it, and how to do what you want to do with it. We're going to be rerunning a class on Podio, and Podio is a cloud-based Excel on steroids with a little bit of CRM. It's more so targeted towards the small business community or small organizations, but I use it for my personal life as well. I'm writing an ebook right now that I'm using Podio for to organize all my thoughts and information on, and it's a lot more feasible than using a spreadsheet or a Word document. So come to the Podio class and we'll teach you how you can use that free product for organizing your work life or your CRM needs, things like that.
Who makes their products?
Podio is made by Citrix.
Okay.
Citrix is a big company that makes GoToMyPC, GoToMeeting, all the go-to products, and they bought out this company called Podio. So it's a big product. It's a good tool. They started off very small, but they were bought because they really have a great product. I actually flew out to San Francisco to meet with their team back in spring, and they really have a great thing going. So that's why we really like leveraging their product and showing others how to use it as well. And then finally, just before Thanksgiving, before the holiday shopping rush that's going to begin naturally, we're going to be doing our Windows 8 class one more time. It's actually perfect timing because Microsoft's releasing the update to Windows 8 called Windows 8.1 that's fixing some of the bugs and usability issues that were present on the first iteration. Our Windows 8 classes are always full house, so you have to sign up early to get a spot in that. All the new computers being sold today are Windows 8, so you have to learn it or you stay on an old computer. So we'd rather teach you how to use it effectively. It's a good class. We show you how to use the interface with the touch capabilities. We show you some of the things behind the scenes. So you can get past a lot of that media hype that's out there and really figure out what you need to know for that platform. And on our website, FireLogic.net, if you click on events, you can see all our upcoming classes. And we also list all the dates that we do help desk at the Parkridge Library for 3 hours every second Saturday of the month. We are there doing free tech support. So if you have any questions about your laptop or smartphone or tablet or anything technology related that you think we could help you with, come on in. No charge, 3 hours, we're all yours. And we're going to hopefully start doing some more of those over here at the Niles Library, maybe next year once we get our normal space back.
Right, 'cause
so
we've been really challenged because of the moving around. Because we've been under construction since March. A lot of people don't realize that, so we'll be happy to have you back.
All right. So just wanted to tell everyone what to expect out of this class. If you're coming here and you're expecting me to give you a full play-by-play on every single thing I'm going to show you from start to finish, not going to happen. This class is meant to be sort of a show and tell, a session where I can give you the inspiration, show you how we're leveraging these tools, show you what purpose these tools fill, so you can go back and utilize them for your own needs. There are instruction tutorials out on the internet for all the different things that we're showing here today. So I just want to light the fire in your mind so you can see what we're doing, and you can say, hey, I could use the Google Docs for this, or I could use Google Forms for this, or Google Moderator for this. That's the real purpose of this class, and that's what I hope you're going to be able to take away by the time you leave here today. And as I said, all of these tools, nothing here is pie in the sky. Everything we're showing off, we have either used or we do use on a consistent basis for the way we run our company and how we help other companies or organizations implement the way they do things. So these are all real life examples here. So not only do I want to show you the tools and show you the way that we're using things, so knowing the how of doing some of these items is always important, but I'm a strong believer in telling the narrative of the why. And that's something that a lot of people and a lot of training manuals forget, because a lot of people don't always understand why something may be better than the way they're doing things right now. And that's a big hurdle that we're trying to get over in the tech industry with a lot of people that are scared about these cloud tools. So I'm going to put a little narrative, put a little bit of a personal touch on why going the cloud route and leveraging these products is going to make your life easier. And I'll show you that by the time we are out of here today. So going along with my story, of course, before computers, everyone was drowning in paperwork. This guy looks like he hasn't left his office in a couple of years. Some people's offices still look like this in spite of computers. I feel sorry for those people. And perhaps we were leveraging whiteboards as well. I'm not going to knock whiteboards entirely because I still have one in my home office and my real office, so I do like whiteboards. But again, they're good for what they do, but there are better ways to organize information, especially in the digital realm. Perhaps Post-it notes as well. Then, of course, computers came along for us, and we were introduced to the entire digital ecosystem and all the potentials that came about with these computing machines. And that is not me in that photo. It's just a picture I found on the internet, if you were curious. So we started using computers, and late 80s and 90s, early 2000s, of course, what did we do? We replicated what our offices used to look like by creating that kind of environment on our desktops and our computers. This is a desktop I see quite often. It's not actually one of my customers, but I do have a lot of clients that are just as messy as that with their files. So of course, we were leveraging Word and Excel and PowerPoint and all these things that were, all these newfound technologies, and we got overloaded by all these files on our computer. And if you're still using floppy disks, I highly recommend that you look at an alternative solution, because they are not the safest tool for you. The best thing to do is, probably make a little a globe that you can hang, or a little pen holder for yourself, because that's about all they're good for. So then we were making all these digital files, and of course then, what good are files if we need to work with others on them? There needs to be a way we got to get these to people. So of course we figured out that email. Wow, great invention of email in the mid-90s. So everyone started emailing things to one another, and that is how the world of work started turning. So everyone was emailing one another. So Betsy, started emailing little Jimmy, and Jimmy wanted to email all those pictures over to mom, or whatever kind of situation that we're talking about here. In the workplace, very common. We go into so many businesses, and this endless cycle of the email chain, the attachment being sent, the attachment with more attachments, and we've got multiple versions of the attachment, and this cycle never ends. And this is not a really effective way of doing things with our digital files. And that's because when we start doing this, we are creating little silos of information, silos of data. So he's got different copies of the information that she may need, and she's got different versions of it, and maybe she's got some things that are newer than him, and vice versa. So this is a big issue, and this is, as we started overloading ourselves with information, how do we make better sense and keep track of these files and make sure everyone's working on the right version without getting caught in this endless, nasty loop? And another big issue, of course, with keeping all these files in our computer systems, as we've been doing, is that when we forget to back up or we have our computer burned down, as this person did, that's not a very happy situation, obviously, because a lot of that information is very important to the way we do run our businesses, things we need for work, things we need for our personal lives, important photos and spreadsheets and things. Unfortunately, we're helping a lot of people that are in this situation where they only had that one local copy of their data, and that was unfortunately destroyed in some sort of catastrophe or a theft or damage or any number of things that you can think of. So our digital habits of yesteryear. Big part of this class that I want to get through to everyone is not only the individual tools themselves that I'm showing off here on the screen, but the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is transforming the way we do things with our digital files and our digital workflow to start leveraging the cloud because of some of these big problems that have existed up until very recently. For example, who does have that master copy? If you're working on an Excel file with 5 different people, do you know at any given time who's got the master version of that? A lot of people don't. How do we easily share the information? Of course we can email it, but of course we come back and we're back in that nasty email loop and email chain. How can we easily get away from that, especially in the world of telecommuting, which is very popular now? I mean, we work with so many businesses, organizations where we have people telecommuting a few days a week and they need access to all these files. So it's very important for us to find a way to share these items on the fly without having to be tied to a physical office anymore. And this is becoming more and more common and will become more common as time goes on. What if someone doesn't have a copy of Office or the same copy of Office as you do? If you've ever worked with anyone that uses the old version of Office, especially version 2003, and you're using version 2010, for example, and they don't have the conversion kit on their old Office, you're going to have a real tough time working with them. Cloud tools like Google Apps and Google Docs especially solve this issue for us because we're not worried about everyone having that latest copy of Office. We're instead, all we have to do is get into that tool on the web browser, and as long as you have access to the internet, you have access to the tool, you have access to the information that you need. Very, very key in this discussion. Who's keeping backups of these items? As I showed on the previous slide, when we're not doing backups and we're not managing backups, someone's going to end up unhappy when those files are lost. And that's a big thing that, and I'm going to show a Google Drive towards the end of this class. I think it's on one of the last items. One of the item 12 actually. I'm going to show off how I'm helping other companies take what used to be file servers in their office or the one person with the flash drive with all the master copy of the files and putting this up into Google Drive and giving that access to everyone, and also making sure that there is a second copy of it, and that's inherent with that kind of a tool. So, as I was saying, in closing, most of the ways we were doing these things with digital files, especially as data starts consuming our lives more and more, our processes end up failing for one of the reasons above. And Google Apps luckily does solve a lot of these issues for us, and that's what we're going to get to in just a moment. So now I want to answer the question of why Google Apps? So why is this such a good tool and why does it work so well? Why are you preaching about it so heavily? All the apps that we're going to show up here today, you can get completely free of charge. If you don't want to pay for a business account, I do recommend you do get a business account if you're using it for in the workplace, because there are some benefits to the paid version, like 24/7 support that you get, and uptime guarantees that do not come with the free edition. But if you have a very small group of people, maybe just 1 or 2 of you, and you want to leverage all these things, everything I'm showing off here today comes in a free form. And actually, I'm showing it off in the free edition. I'm not even using the business edition for it. So I'm going to lend even more credence to that argument. Completely free, doesn't cost you a dime. It's only going to cost you the time to set up an account and actually take the time to start leveraging this for your own needs. No software is required outside of a web browser. And this is, again, another important fact. Unlike the way we used to do things with Office, and okay, does everyone have a copy of Office 2013 or 2010 so we can make sure we're working on this in the same manner without these problems with compatibility and all the other things that come along with that? that's no longer an issue. If you have a web browser, if you have a computer, even if you have a tablet more so today, we were trying this out at one of our other last classes with Google Drive, especially on the tablet. This functionality is starting to become just as embedded within our mobile interfaces. So truly seamless anywhere access is a big reality these days. Sharing, the answer of, or the question of sharing. How do I get this information out to people without having to give copies of flash drives or copies of file in email or handing out floppy disks, God forbid? That's all been resolved. Google Drive, Google Docs especially answers that big question for us because it provides that platform on the internet for us to be able to give out this information on the fly without having to worry about did everyone get a copy of that. Backups are being handled automatically by Google. When I say backups, this is critical data loss backups, so that if the system ever goes down on their end, they're still going to have your information. This, of course, does not solve the problem of human error. And human error is the bigger other part of the equation as well when it comes to making sure files are okay. So there are ways to make second copies of all the things in Google Drive if you've had issues with accidentally deleting things. And there's a trash can, just like your own computer has a recycle bin, there's a trash can on Google Drive. So it works in many ways. The same things you're used to doing on your local computer are the same things that you can do on these cloud tools with just a little bit different interface. And probably the most important thing here is everyone always has the latest copy. So again, that big issue with, do you have the latest copy that I made, the latest revision that I put on the spreadsheet, or the new numbers that I inserted into that document a few hours ago? That's not even a question anymore, because if you're giving out copies, or you're giving out access, should I say, to information on, and again, I'm focusing on the Google Drive because this is the core tool for sharing documents in the cloud, that question is no longer even relevant, because if you give out access, the other party always by default has the latest copy in front of them. And you can work on it together at the same time. If you've ever been to our Google Docs class, in the past we show off how that works in terms of live collaboration on the fly, which Microsoft Office has started to introduce, and they do have some of that functionality. But Google Docs, this was the first company that ever got this down. They've been doing this since 2007 or so. They know what they're doing when it comes to internet collaboration. They're very good at this aspect. This class in particular, what was I using to make this class possible? If you take a look at my presentation, there's no PowerPoint to be found. I'm fully running my presentation on a Google presentation, which is a subset of Google Docs. So there was no PowerPoint that ever touched this presentation that I'm using here today. The agenda file that you all received in a printout, that was all done in Google Docs. Never used Microsoft Word to do any of that. And I'm going to bring up a live Q&A page. I know the only person here that has a computer besides myself is Ruth, so maybe she can help us leverage, so I can show off how this Google Moderator tool works for ourselves. So these are just three of the tools. I'm going to show off two of these in particular. Google Presentation is more of a part of Google Docs, so I'm not going to go over that in particular. But again, I'm trying to get the point across. We don't need these desktop installed pieces of software to get our work done, and I'm showing that. I'm living proof of that right now. I always get asked when it comes to the cloud, is the cloud secure? Is it safe? I actually wrote an article about this for betanews.com. It's a technology news website for IT people. And again, this issue of cloud security is big, especially with all the NSA things going on. And the NSA discussion's separate. I'm not going to get into that. But in general, when we're talking about safety and privacy from hackers and all the criminals out there that are out to get our information, there is a big misconception out there, and a study recently released has proven this. They went out, and a company called ComScore, they surveyed small businesses, actually businesses with up to 500 computers in their organization, so fairly sizable organizations. And these were organizations within the US, Britain, France, and Germany, and they asked them. And these are all companies that previously were using just local software, locally installed tools, and they made the move into the cloud. and they asked them, how was your security, how was your uptime, how was your privacy on things before, and how is it now? The results were kind of shocking. 94% of them reported that they have better security now due to the cloud, due to leveraging these cloud products as opposed to their traditional software. And we're talking Microsoft on-premise email systems and on-premise Office, things like that. So overwhelmingly, security has gone up at these organizations. And these are big companies. I mean, up to 500 people, that's a fairly sizable mid-sized organization. And as well, 62% of those organizations likewise reported that privacy levels went up. So all in all, the privacy question and the security question have been answered, and organizations that have taken the dip, have went 2 feet in, have told us that these things, this media misconception and hot air that's been going around just really isn't true. So again, the bottom line is here, the cloud security problem is more of a perception issue. It's not actually a real problem, because I run my company in the cloud. I help other companies run their organizations in the cloud. We have very high levels of security. Think about it this way. A lot of people tell me, oh, I keep my files on a flash drive in my house, and that's very secure. Well, how are you guaranteeing that someone's not going to be able to walk in and steal that information from you, or steal your laptop? You're at Starbucks and you have your laptop sitting out, you go to the washroom, someone steals that laptop from you that had all of your company financials on it or customer information on it from the last 3 years. You didn't have a backup of that. How is that secure? Where is the security in that? When you're keeping it up in the cloud, unless you're pulling it out to make a local copy for yourself, you are leveraging the security from the armed guards, from the premises security, from the heavy, all the extra equipment that goes into what these big companies can provide. For example, Google and Microsoft, the 2 biggest cloud players today, they have millions of dollars to be able to spend on high-level security, things that most small businesses and most organizations I work with, they can't have. I go into businesses and they're using, not to rat on the library, but they're using home-level equipment like this little Linksys wireless box over here that should not be in the workplace. These are the kind of things that businesses are using, and they're telling me I'm more secure than the cloud. That's a big wake-up call these days with doing things like that, and just having this misconception that just because you have your information in your hands doesn't mean it's more secure than it could be up with a cloud provider that has millions and millions of dollars to spend on security for their systems. And these tools, likewise, are certified for usage in the federal government, in the most stringent medical organizations, insurance scenarios, legal firms. These are the kind of organizations using this. These things have to be secure, and this kind of testing is being done on a continual monthly basis. Again, the kind of things that small businesses are not doing, that have the floppy disk sitting with customer data all over the desks in the back room, or flash drives that are sitting out and the secretaries are handing it between one another. That's not security. That's a twisted perception of security. So how do I get started with this whole cloud thing, with Google Apps specifically? Very simple. You want to get a free account for yourself? All you have to do is go over to this website over here. I put it on the agenda for you as well. It's one of the first items on the agenda. Sign up for a free account. Google offers completely free accounts for everyone, anyone that wants one. You can make multiple Google accounts. I have about 3 personal Google accounts that I use that I all funnel into one account for myself. So you can make a free account for yourself. If you use Gmail, if you have a Gmail address, you already have a Google account, so don't go out and make one. You have all the tools that I'm going to show you already. You just have to know how to get into them. And if you want a paid account, Google Apps for Business account, if you're going to be running your organization on this, I do recommend you pay the $50 a year per account to get a paid subscription, because that comes with an uptime guarantee, that comes with paid Google support, because a lot of, I'm not going to say cheapskates, but people that want to get away with these free tools and then complain when they don't get support for it in their workplace, don't get caught in that dilemma, because Google's not going to provide any support for you if things don't work the way you want them to. So here's where I want to bring Ruth in the scenario. I want you to go to the website that I have up on the board here, Ruth. And this is the first tool I want to show off of, and we're using it here today. And of course, it's a lot better when you have more people doing it, but we're going to get the point across regardless. So it's tinyurl.com /apps AUG -24 -2.
AUG -24-2. Okay.
Hopefully you get there.
Coming. I did presentations yesterday and I haven't been able to readjust my screen, so
Okay.
I have a small display. Sorry.
That's fine. Looks like you got to it. So I'm going to show everyone what Ruth is looking at right now.
So
This is one of the tools that I want to cover for this class to give everyone an idea. Let's bring it up on the...
Michael, if you turn around, you'll see it this way too, physically on the screen. That's
Yep.
just what he's showing.
Exactly. So this
we're
is
in the same spot.
This is one of the cloud tools. I like using this one because it's actually very neat and it's not used enough out in the wild. It's called Google Moderator. It is a tool that Google released and I think is very powerful, but it's just not talked about a lot. It's sort of goes behind the radar, and more so because they don't even put it on their navigational menu on the upper black bar. I don't know why. It is a wonderful tool. It's completely free. You can use it with a paid Google account, free Google account. And how are we using it today? So I'm actually doing a live Q&A for this class with my wonderful sample Ruth. In a larger class, I used to use this a lot when I used to work at the high school district, 207 Main South High School. I used to do a lot of training for staff and students. And I used to put these Google Moderator pages up and say I had a classroom of 30 kids or 30 or a few teachers that I was training, and I asked them, let's go to this page. I'm going to do my presentation. And sometimes I had a person that was helping moderate the discussion, not the moderator tool, but they were helping run this tool for me, and we were getting questions on the fly. So I actually put a test question up in there, and Ruth, if you want to put a test question of some sort into this page,
So
on the bottom of the page, all you have to do is click on Submit Question.
There, I see it. Okay, so I click on Submit Question, and then I get a box that lets me type in like I'm doing email.
Exactly.
Okay.
So now you're going to put in. So I'm doing my class. So if you have a large class and you're one trainer, the worst thing you can have is everyone raising their hand every moment of the class and asking you questions and derailing you, and you have no time left for the material you want to cover. So in this scenario, what I'm doing is I'm taking questions from the crowd, from Ruth, and I'm going to go over these at the end. Now, of course, we might not have any real good data in here to cover, but in a larger class, if I had a few people with computers and they entered questions in here, I could go ahead and cover those for others. But this is not the only way that you can use this Google Moderator tool. This tool is very good. Actually, in our last class that we showed last week where we covered Google Apps for personal life, I used this, and I showed the class of how you can use this. For example, if you had a large family and you were getting ideas for a place for wedding reception, send this out to everyone. Instead of getting on the phone and doing the snail mail or email route, send this out, say, hey, put your ideas in here, vote on what you like, vote down what you don't like, and we'll come to a consensus a lot more quickly than any other way of doing this email chain or the phone call, the phone tag route. Just two examples of how this could be used. And I'll get to this formally as we keep going, but there are some other uses for this that I want to show off. Again, a very nice tool for collecting information from large groups of people and getting that consensus on it, because again, not only can we see what people recommended, but people can say whether they like it or that they don't like it. So this is sort of a, American Idol voting process for our own needs, for our work needs, for anything that we're trying to collect information or ideas or questions about.
I have a question.
Yes.
It's not on the More menu, and
Mhm.
that would, well, this
Part of the
is-
reason why a lot of people don't know about it.
Well, it's just a temporary thing,
Mhm.
but I would worry, since it's not on the More menu, about using it because, I was using RSS feeds and then they dropped it. So I'd be worried if I set up something permanently in here that it would be dropped.
There is that concern with any tool in the cloud because this is such a tumultuous industry and things are changing so fast. Google Reader went away. Yes, I use Google Reader myself, and I was quite upset when Google said bye-bye to that. I still don't know the reason why they got rid of it, but there are things that they put out that are going to be pulled back at some point. I will say though, Google Moderator, I think, has been in operation since about late 2008, early 2009, and it's still in operation. Google Reader only came out, I think, in about 2010 or so, and they pulled the plug on it. So if anything's going to last the test of time, Google Moderator is probably still going to be around.
And I was just trying to be funny on the second question.
So as you can see, for example, Ruth submitted a question, it came in over here, and if I had a lot of people with computers and this was a situation where a lot of people were able to engage with it, they could go in here and say, hey, that's a good question, I like that, well, I want to make sure that gets asked, vote that up, or this one, vote that down. And again, that's the power of this kind of tool. And again, not only for questions, but ideas and topics and any kind of situation where we're asking others to, hey, give me some data, give me some information on a particular subject.
So where it says post a response, as a participant in here, can I respond?
Yes.
Ooh.
So you can
So
have
we can answer
people
each
can
other's
comment.
questions.
People can comment on various things. So this was neat because I actually had a live document on that wedding reception idea document in our personal class, and people were voting up ideas and down ideas. Lakeshore, United Center, all kinds of crazy things. So we have a little bit of exposure to that. But just to get your brain thinking of how you'd be able to leverage a tool like this. All right, let's keep moving. So Ruth, if you have any questions you come about that you don't want to raise your hand for, put them in the moderator page,
put them in the moderator
and we will
I can be
show
quiet.
that.
I can practice being quiet. I have to practice that.
All right, let's get to the live demos over here and show you what these tools can do. So, first things first, Google Moderator, covered a little bit of this for everyone. This is actually a screenshot from another Google Moderator that I had as an example in last week's class. Birthday ideas. You got a kid, you got a large family, and you're trying to get ideas for, where to take them for birthday. So we put some ideas in here for ourselves. And you can see that over there. That's the responses and the voting that they received. I don't think they received any votes on them. But again, that was another example of what we were doing with it. As I said, any ideas or topics or suggestions people put into Google Moderator can be voted up, can be voted down. As the person that started it, you can delete. I believe there's a delete option on any of the ideas as well. And there is no limit to the number of things that can be placed in here. If you're curious, let me see if I can find this. Let me go back to Google Moderator. President Obama used Google Moderator, I believe just after he was elected, for getting ideas. When was this? Questions. Oh, they were doing questions for the Romney-Obama debates last year, and one of the debates actually used Google Moderator to get questions for it. So this was used on a primetime scale. Close to 20,000, over 20,000 people submitted 3,000 questions to the candidates, and we got 300,000 plus votes on it. So Google Moderator, has been out there and it has been used in the wild for some pretty big deal things. You may have just not heard about it as much. And if we go in there, we can go ahead and see what kind of things were put in here, all kinds of different questions, the votes that were received. Some people actually put YouTube video questions in for the candidates. So again, just a simple example of how such a simple tool could be leveraged for very, very neat purposes like that. All right. As I said, you could use this for, this is another interesting way to use it. Collecting thoughts or ideas for an agenda document. How many times, especially if you're in the business world, you're trying to set up a meeting agenda between others, and you're not getting responses from some people, or everyone doesn't want to respond to the email chain, or they just don't care. Perhaps try sending one of these out via Google Moderator and actually let people engage a little bit with this. Instead of keeping things in the drab sphere of the email thread, put it up in Google Moderator and let's see what people want to actually discuss in the next meeting. You might have better results at that meeting than you would have otherwise seen by just doing it the traditional way. new products and services you're thinking of. Again, situation in the workplace, you're trying to decide where to, what direction to go with your company, or a new aspect or new product to decide to think of. Put it up in Google Moderator, send it out to all the workers or colleagues involved, and have them put their ideas in and have them vote on it. Let's get some consensus. Let's get some engagement on that. And again, new marketing ideas, just another way that you'd be able to leverage that in the workplace. So again, I ask you, for wherever you work, you find a way and you think about how you'd be able to use Google Moderator. There is no limit to the number of responses that people can put in. As I said, this can be left open for years, I guess until Google decides to ever shut it down. But as I said, this tool's been around for quite a while. I don't think they're going to be taking it away because it is quite useful for a lot of purposes, both personal and work related.
Why wouldn't they have it on the menu? It's just so confusing.
It's a good question. Google's they do a lot of market research on why or what placement something gets on the navigational menu, and seeing as this is more of a niche, I will admit, niche product that is for certain scenarios, certain situations, it's not used day to day, probably why it didn't get a spot in the navigational bar. All you have to do is log into your Gmail account and then just type in google.com/moderator and you will get to this website. Or just Google it. Just Google it. Google Moderator and it will take you to the login page to get access to this. So it does exist, and all you need, again, is your Google account, either a free Google account, Gmail account, or a paid Google account to do this. All right, moving on. Gmail. I beat this tool to death in the last 2 years. Ruth, we need 2 hands to count how many classes we've done on Gmail. We've been through the Gmail thing. If you want to rewatch one of our Gmail classes, we've probably done it about 4 times between the 2 libraries. It's up on our YouTube channel. You can watch. We did one as recently, I think, as 2 months ago, so it has the new interface and all the new tools in that class session. Gmail is a great tool. We use Gmail for our work, day-to-day email. 25 gigabyte inbox, actually 30 gigabytes now. So it's a great product. I don't want to focus on the email aspect. I want to focus on the contact, the address book portion of this. Because little do people know is that you can use the address book or the contacts functionality within Gmail as sort of a light CRM tool that is fully mobile accessible. And how can you do that?
What is CRM?
CRM means customer relationship management. So all the customers that you may deal with day to day in your work environment, some companies that have a lot of money, they use tools like Salesforce or Goldmine or all these other paid and fancy bell and whistle solutions. If you're a small organization, or you're just a onesie, or you're a real estate broker, or you're working on your own, you may not need something like that. Why waste the money on a big packaged cookie cutter tool like that when your Gmail account could probably do about 80% of what these fancy tools do? I'm going to show you some of those things right now. So we leverage the context area for a lot of this functionality. Not everything. We've outgrown this a little bit as we are getting a little bit larger. So we're actually leveraging Podio for our day-to-day needs for this a little bit more. But again, if your needs aren't as complicated or nitty-gritty as ours may be, you can do a lot of the same things right within your context area. So let me go into my test email account that I have here. This is a plain Jane Gmail account, FireLogicTraining@gmail.com. Do not email this address because I do not check it except for classes. Okay, if you want to email me, take a business card and email me at my work address, as that is the one I'm in probably within 15 hours of every day. That's where I live, is my inbox. So this is our test email account. Represents exactly what you would see if you had a free Gmail account, or if you do have one, or likewise if you had a paid Gmail account for your business. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my contacts area over here on the left-hand side, and a lot of this is pre-populated with some things we were doing with the personal class. I'm doing contact groups, but the same things apply for if I wanted to use this in the workplace. So for example, one of the things I wanted to show is this contact group functionality. I can put multiple people within groups for myself. So for example, if I wanted to make a group here for everyone involved in my Q4 2013 project, I can make a group for myself. and say that, and again, just in a hypothetical sense, I know these are family-related names that I have on here, but if Lindsay, our admin assistant at the company, if my mom, if my sister were involved in that project, and I wanted them all within this contact group, I could select them, I could add them into that project group for myself, and here is where it gets nice. Not only do I have now a quick reference of all the people involved in that project, or in a customer scenario, if I had customers from a given company or for a given project that we're working on, and these were the end customers we were dealing with, I could easily group them instead of having to reference email threads or pieces of paper telling me who is on that project. I could organize that right within my address book. And likewise, I could leverage this by going back into Gmail and sending them all a message, whether it be an email newsletter, whether it be an update on the project. All I have to do is start typing in the name of my group, and there it is. It shows up. I can press enter, and it populates my email with 3 people, 10 people, 50 people, however many people may be part of those contact groups that we're emailing. Start typing in the group name, put it into the to or BCC or CC fields for yourself, and you can set up quick emails to multiple recipients without having to lift a finger and sit there and type out this person and that person and that person, which is the way a lot of people still do it when I see them at their workplace. So avoid that time loss and frustration for yourself. Leverage contact groups in that regard. Going back into contacts, another nice thing that you can do with your individual contacts is, say, for example, Lindsay's contact that I have over here. If Lindsay was a end customer, I could do a lot of neat things with this entry here. Not only do I have a full notes field, if you've ever used Outlook, Outlook has a notes field for every single entry. You can use it to put anything you want in here, except the only thing you can't put in here is documents or files or pictures or things like that. But anything text related, I could type into that notes field for myself. So for example, I could put in who referred that client, when was the last phone call I had with that customer, what kind of complaint did that customer have when they last called me. Again, these are sort of the things that we pay thousands of dollars for on these CRM tools. Lo and behold, Google Contacts can do this for free for us. And not only can we save this information in our web account, but the beauty of this, which most CRM tools are not able to offer you, your mobile phone. How many people want access to this information wherever they go? This synchronizes on the fly with your mobile phone, your iPhone, your Android, your BlackBerry. I don't care what kind of phone it is. Google supports all the major platforms. So if I'm out in the field and I need to know when I talked to that customer last and what the heck they had to ask or what their question was or whatever information I need access to, everything within here synchronizes to my phone. So I have it on the go. I don't have to do the flash drive copy or take my laptop with me. My mobile phone is my gateway to all my customer information, contacts, addresses, phone numbers, anything that I can put within here. That's powerful. We're working on the go these days. We're not sitting in front of computers all day. I run a technology business where I am at 2, 3, 4 customers in a day and don't have time to pull out my laptop always, but I can look into my contact entry and see, hey, last time I was at this person's house was 2 years ago. They had this big issue. This is what I need to know about their their dog that likes to bite me on the knee when I walk in the house. Now I can have that saved in there, and I know that before I even go into that situation. Going further, if I don't even like the 20 different fields that Google offers me, I can create a custom field over here for myself. So for example, I could call this, I can make a referred by. Who referred me to that customer? Jack John was the one that referred that customer for myself. And I can add as many custom fields as I'd like. So again, you can utilize the notes field, which is nice. So you have that free form flexibility, or you could just make a formal line item for that particular thing and make another one for yourself. And you can add as many as you'd like. Telephone number 5, and put that in for myself. And that all gets saved on the fly, right onto my web account. And the other big thing about this, and we're going to get off context because I got a lot more to cover. So many people call me, tell me, Derrick, I lost my phone, my contacts were on there, my gosh, what am I going to do? I don't have those phone numbers anymore. We could have avoided that if we were using Google Contacts, because I don't care if I lose this phone today. Everything that was within here is saved up on Google's end and backed up. So I can go ahead, toss this phone, step on it right now, break it, activate a new phone, and all this information will flow back in for me on the fly. Don't get caught in that situation where you're having all your customer contact records or personal phone numbers. I use this not only for my customers, but my personal contact information, because I don't know what I would do if I lost all that info. I can't imagine going out to all those people and asking them for their phone numbers and emails again. That is embarrassing. It's not something that we should be needing to do this day and age. With free tools like this, you can avoid that nasty situation. Put your address book into Google Contacts, leverage it for all it's worth, and not have to worry about your phone dying on you. Yes?
If I have my contacts on my phone,
Yes.
is there a way to get them in there?
There is. So if they're on the phone first, it's a little more legwork to get them extracted and put them into the Gmail, especially if it's on the iPhone. They make it a little bit tougher. But if you email me, I can send you instructions on how you can do that.
Okay, and then the other question is, you've got them on here,
Sure.
and now you want to extract the contacts for something else, say for like a bulk email.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I didn't even put that on the agenda.
Okay.
How easy is it? 2 clicks. Let's go back into our main contacts area. My contacts. I wanted to pull all this information out, and this is one big thing that is ever present among all the Google tools. It's very easy to put things in, and it's also very easy to get things out. Unlike some providers that like to capture you and put the padlock on you and never let you leave, Google says, hey, you want to come in, you can. If you want to leave, you can take your information with you. And that's one of the things I like, because a lot of providers do not offer that this day and age. If I click on the More menu and I go into Export, I can select which group, subset of my contacts I want to export to a spreadsheet, and then I can choose exactly what I want to export it as. I wouldn't use the vCard option. It's a very old and non-standard format, but the 2 most popular ones, I can export it as an Outlook CSV, so I could pop it into an Outlook program or another email client for myself if I didn't like the whole web atmosphere, or I could just make a Google CSV, which is pretty much just like a spreadsheet file. CSV is just a fancy name for a regular bona fide spreadsheet. I could put that on my hard drive, I could disconnect from the internet for eternity, and I would always have access to those contacts then. 2-step process, and I'll actually show you it right now. I'm going to do all contacts. I'm going to export it as a Google CSV, export, save. I'm going to put it on my desktop for myself, and let's go open that file. Where is it? Here it is. There it is. Of course, it's a little dirty because there's a lot of data within there. So if you have all your headers for all the different pieces of information, but everything I put in there is all within there. And even that custom field I put in, Jack John, referred by Jack John, that's all in there, all the contacts, all my names, addresses, here we go, email addresses, all in there. So yes, getting this information out is just even easier actually than putting it in. And likewise, if you're coming from another ecosystem, if you're coming from big popular thing, people coming off Comcast or Yahoo or AOL, this is what they're doing. They're getting these kind of spreadsheet files from these services, and they're putting them up, and they're just, as opposed to doing an export, I'm not going to save that. Let's go back into here. As opposed to doing an export, all we're doing is an import. So we're taking a spreadsheet file from some other service, and we're bringing it in. And likewise, Google will easily recreate all these contact entries for you as long as you can give it a CSV file. And if you email me, I will give you a step-by-step that has been made already that shows you how you can go ahead and do that for yourself. And the iPhone, as I said, has a few more steps with it, but you can do what I'm showing you here in terms of importing these. Okay?
I think you'll be hearing from a couple of us.
All right. So let's keep moving here. Any questions on using Google Contacts? As I said on the slide over here, good for keeping notes on customer calls. You can even set up, I'm not going to go over this, but you can set up shared contacts between multiple people in your organization. Our company, for example, I'm out in the field. My colleague Wesley's in the field. My colleague Peter's in the field. They need access to all of our company contacts because I can't be there, or our admin assistant's not working 24/7 to get these names and numbers for them. We have it set up so that all these contacts are shared between us. So Wesley and Peter both know exactly all the contacts in our organization at all times, and they know exactly where they're going, the addresses, phone numbers. So everyone has the power to be their own person and control the information and have access to it, as opposed to one person distributing it. Email me that info, text me that information. It's a thing of the past. You don't have to deal with that. You can set up nice shared contacts for everyone in your organization. And the shared contacts, I will preface that by saying you cannot set up shared contacts for personal Gmail accounts. That has to be in the business paid version. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Shared office calendars. I love this because we use this day to day. I'm going to bring up my office company calendar that we use really quickly. Where is, over here, here we go. Let me go into calendar. Here's my crazy calendar at a glance, okay? So we use this. I've got an events calendar that we use for all of our classes. I've got my personal Gmail calendar loading into here. I've got my personal work calendar. We've got a team calendar for all the clients that we're going to. So we leverage shared calendars very heavily. Our business depends on it. Shared calendars are very nice and very simple to set up. So let me show you how you can do that. Shared calendars, nice about this, as opposed to the big, a lot of companies have that whiteboard calendar, the shared whiteboard calendar, which is nice. The problem is, as soon as we leave the office, we don't know what's on it. And if someone made a change to it and the other person couldn't see it, everyone else is out of date, out of sync with what's going on. So shared calendar solved the issue of mobility. Shared calendar solved the issue of having a backup of our information, as opposed to keeping one copy of it on one person's computer, or that paper calendar that might be lost or shredded or who knows what. This puts it in the cloud, up on Google Calendar for us, and we can make as many shared calendars as we want. So let me show you how simple this is. Back into my Gmail account. This is something on the black menu bar because a lot of people do use it. So I'm going to click on Calendar off my account. And here is the past accounts, various calendars. Now, one of the biggest things that you want to remember with Google Calendar, unlike a paper calendar that is a single true calendar, or a calendar on your desk like everyone likes to put in all the time so they can write on. This is more of it's actually a better tool because this interface is an overlay of multiple calendars. So as you see here, these are all separate calendars that are overlaid on this, and all I'm doing is turning them on or off whether I can see them. And as you can see here, these two are turned off at the current time. This inline hockey calendar is turned on. Contacts, birthdays, and US holidays happen to be turned on. So again, instead of having one calendar where everything's jumbled on, or it's just black and white, it's on or it's off. It's on the calendar or it's off the calendar. With this, we can have multiple different calendars and turn them on or off at any time for ourselves if there's too much information and we just want to see what's on one particular calendar. All we have to do is turn off the others with this one click. Very simple. So let me show you how this works.
Are all those calendars in Google, or
Yes.
are some of the calendars somewhere else?
All in Google. If
Now-
a calendar is listed here, it is in Google, hosted by Google.
Now, say your work is using Outlook as their calendar, and you want this as your personal calendar. Can you overlay the two calendars in here somehow?
What kind of system do you guys use? If you say Outlook, what kind of system? Is it a system that's everyone on their own using Outlook, or is it a corporate issued
Corporate
Outlook
Outlook,
system?
but I could log into web-based Outlook and see my calendar.
Okay, so this is one of the areas where the communication between the Microsoft system and the Google system is a little more disparate. You wouldn't be able to overlay your work calendar if it's running Outlook in here. So I'll just say that. You wouldn't be able to do that. Because they're two different ecosystems, two different platforms. You could do it if you installed, if you had a paid Google account. But again, you wouldn't have a paid Google account if you're using Outlook in your organization, so that's not really feasible. But there is a way to get this calendar up and overlaid on your Outlook calendar.
Oh,
I'm
so
not gonna
the
go
other
into
way. Okay.
the other way. Yeah, it's
Okay.
not as easy going this way. But more so, if you want to do this more for your personal side of things, or if you wanted to go ahead and just set up a calendar on here as your work calendar and just stop using the Outlook work calendar, sometimes feasible, sometimes not. But if you were able to, you would be able to have this seamless integration between all the calendars you use in one nice interface.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? So for example, I have, and I turned, as I just did, I just clicked on these once, click, click, turned off, click, click, turned on. Now it didn't change the interface that much because this month didn't really have that much on it. But let's see how this looks. So for example, my items on my green calendar, my class calendar, actually those are that's the holidays calendar. So if I turned off the holidays calendar, watch what happens. Those items are taken off. If I turn it back on, the overlay brings it back. So again, I have that flexibility of making this as cluttered or as at a glance as I want by adding or removing things on the fly like that. If I wanted to make a new calendar for myself, so by default, if you have a Gmail account, you're going to have one calendar that has your name on it. Nice, but you may not want to be sharing out that calendar with everyone because it might have personal things on it, like I do. So I would go ahead and I would just go ahead and click on the little arrow next to my calendars and click on Create New Calendar. Set a name for it. So maybe this one was that quarter 4 project that we're working on. Quarter 4 2013 project. Set a name for it. That's really all it needs right off the bat. Create it. And loading. There it is. It's got an orange color on it. I can change my color to something different. If I want it to be maybe a red color, it's up to me. And here's where it gets interesting because now I can go ahead and click on the little arrow, click on Share This Calendar, and I can share this out with anyone with a Google account. And a Google account, again, is a Google Apps for Business account or a personal Gmail account. And most everyone tends to have a Google account these days. So I can share this out with any of those kinds of people. So if I knew I could share this out with my colleague Wesley. I would put his name on there, type in his email address actually, and I can control how much access he has. This is important. There might be situations where you want to give someone full control to make changes to events. There might be people that only need to be able to see details for an event. It's up to you. It's not like you're giving control to the person and you have to give everyone full control to be able to mess up your calendar. I have some calendars that I share out by just showing people what I'm doing. I have some calendar, I actually don't have any of these, but I have customers that do this where they only share if they're free or busy. And I have customers that give their secretary, for example, full control to make changes and manage the sharing of the calendar so they can share it out with other people as well. So it's up to you with how much access and control you're giving out to others. So for example, everyone on my team, I made my FireLogic team calendar myself. I gave everyone the right to make changes to events so they can add on customer appointments, add on conference calls we need to be on, and we're all on the same page now. If I were to share my personal work calendar with others, I'd probably only give them see all event details rights, or maybe even just see only free busy. Am I available or am I busy at the current time? You make that choice.
I was just looking for the app to load Google Calendar on my phone, or is there something else I should?
You don't need a separate app. Google Calendar integrates natively with your iPhone calendar program. The only difference is you have to go ahead and make sure under your accounts area, and I can send you info on this if you're curious.
So is that under Mail?
It's under Mail. It's under the Mail accounts area. You have to make sure the calendar option's selected because you can turn that off for yourself.
Okay.
And if you have your Gmail account connected to there, likelihood is you probably already have the calendar connected, you just never even started using it in that manner.
Okay.
Because by default, it does turn on contacts, calendar, and email synchronization.
Okay.
Okay? Sure. And the nice part is I can give the access out and I can take it back. So I'm not tied to giving this to someone. I'm like sharing a file over email. Once it's out, it's out. We all know that. That's not the case with calendar. If someone does not have to have that kind of access, I could go in here and I could just as easily use a little trash can. A little hard to see, But this little trash can here, I can remove them. Wesley should not see that anymore. Boom, take it off. Save it, and I'm done. And they have access now, and once they have access, they can go into their Google interface or Gmail interface and see their the calendar just as easily on their screen. And if I wanted to make an event on that shared calendar, so for example, going back to that quarter four 2013 project calendar, I had a meeting with the customer of that project on Saturday, September 7th. I go ahead, click on the day, click on edit event, customer meeting. Starts at 11 a.m., goes to 1 p.m., put where it is. The biggest differentiator I need to make sure I select. This is what changes what calendar it goes on. Click on calendar, set it on your project calendar. That's all it takes. As soon as I do that and I click save, there it is. Customer meeting now shows in red, and just to prove it's on that calendar, I'm going to turn everything else off, accept that project calendar, and that is the only thing left on our screen. That is a shared calendar I made within 1 minute. I can share it out to as many people as I want, and if they had access, they would see that customer meeting instantly on their web interface, on their or on their mobile phone or tablet if they had it connected. Very, very nice.
Do you want to show this? Because that's the calendars on the iPhone.
Okay.
And I do have Gmail attached to this.
I have my Gmail accounts, I just don't see where to get the calendar on here.
There should be a... If you go into, you would just want to make sure the calendar is turned on, right? So it's synchronizing.
There's nothing on my calendar now, but can't I look at it?
If there's nothing on it, it's not going to look any different because remember, it uses the overlay process that we're using on the web works the same way on the phones.
Right, but I just want to see my blank calendar, and I don't know how to get to it.
If you go, are you in calendar right now?
No, I'm in my...
Can we do it after class? Let's do it after class because it's going to derail this the conversation a little bit. So stop me after class and I'll show you exactly where it is.
Okay, sure.
Okay?
Great, thank you.
So again, I showed you how to use this for a client calendar, for a customer project calendar. We use this for our internal office calendar. We use it for event calendar. All of our classes go onto a Google Calendar and it gets streamed into our website on the fly. There's no extra effort needed. So this is very powerful stuff. Use your imagination. You can think of ways that you can leverage this. I think this beats a whiteboard or a paper calendar 10 times over and then some. All right, moving forward. Shared documents in the cloud. Google Docs. Everyone's heard of Google Docs. We've done this class about 4 or 5 times in the last 2 years. You can rewatch that on our YouTube channel. Google Docs is an alternative to Microsoft Office that allows you to work on documents right within your web browser as long as you have internet and you have a computer or even a mobile device. It's not as easy to work on the tablet or the phone interface as it is on a traditional computer, but you do have access to those files as well. So in this screenshot here, and I'll actually show the live version of this, this was a sample invoice that I found. There's a templates area in Google Docs where you can find all these templates that people have submitted for things they're doing with Google Docs. And this is an invoice file that is actually running right within a web browser. No need for Word, no need for Excel. I could copy this template and I can work on it, save it, and use that as a digital invoice if I wanted to. Another nice thing about this is you technically could leverage this instead of using Office for probably most of your work, unless you have some really needy work with super complex formulas or really complex formatting on Word files. That is the only area where Google Docs is still having a little tough time, but for 95% of basic letters and all the standard rigmarole that we're using Word and Excel for, or PowerPoint, well, that's like this presentation is, you can do that right within Google Docs. So let me go into that account over here. I'm within my Gmail. I can click on Drive. So one of the things to realize is that Google Drive and Google Docs are one and the same. The only difference is that once you get into Google Drive, the difference that comes into play is if the kind of files that you're using. So if you're creating Google Docs on the web interface, those are still called Google Docs. So Google document, presentation, spreadsheet, form. I'm going to show off a form in a little bit, or a Google drawing. These are all Google Docs, and these are not Microsoft Office files, so you have to remember that. While Drive has the ability to take Word and Excel files and PDFs, which are these PDF, Excel files, we can use Google Drive to put those in, but Google Docs was the bread and butter of why Google did this, and this is really the functionality that has all the bells and whistles with collaboration and sharing. So for example, that digital invoice that I just showed on the screen, here it is. Fully editable. It's not a pre-hashed demonstration because I'm in here and I'm typing within it. I can change it. I can make additions. I can do whatever I need to do within here. Again, our simple formatting menu, I'm not going to go over the ins and outs of all the different things you can do in here. The biggest thing I want to get across is I now have the power. When I make a Google document like this, or a Google spreadsheet, or any of these files, I have the capability of sharing this item with anybody that has, again, a Google account. Google Apps or Gmail. If I wanted to share this with my colleague Wesley, and we do this all the time. I was in Google Docs all day yesterday doing quotes and customer notes and conference call agenda organization within Google Docs. I am rarely within Office anymore. I need Office because customers of mine are using Office, but my day-to-day work and my teammates' day-to-day work is within Google Docs. We live and breathe within this ecosystem now. If I have to do this in Office, I have to make this file, send it over email to my colleague Wesley, and again, we get in that email loop, and that's a nightmare that I don't want to be stuck in anymore. With this, I use the sharing button. I put Wesley's email address in here. I know he has a Google account because he works at my company. I tell exactly what kind of editing access he should have. Can he edit? Can he only comment? Or can he only view the document? So again, I can mix and match. If Wesley should have editing access, and I can go ahead and share and save that. Wesley should be able to edit it, but maybe, for example, our admin assistant, Lindsay, she shouldn't have any access to edit that. She only needs to be able to view that. So again, that granular control, being able to tell who has what kind of rights to the file at any given time, and I can take back those permissions. Click on the X, same way we did in Google Calendar, click on the X, click on Save, and the permissions were taken away. If Wes tried to get into this file again, he'd be brought up to a nice login screen and it would say, you do not have access to this file. And I did that on the fly.
Now, you said that was a template.
Yes.
Is there somewhere where you create templates in there?
Anyone that makes a Google Docs file, you can share that out as a template with the world if you want to. If you want to leverage seeing those templates, all I did actually to find it, I just typed in Google Docs templates, because I don't know the exact address to it, but there is a actually Google operated templates area. If I click on that off my Google results, here is where I can get access to all those templates, and there must be hundreds of thousands of templates in here. Student evaluations, invoice legal, project proposals, syllabus, songwriting template, resumes, and the list goes on and on. And there are all kinds of Google Docs files, not just Word style documents, but spreadsheet files. I saw a few presentation files within here. I saw some forms files, all kinds of different things.
Could you insert pictures within Google Docs?
Yes,
Okay.
very simple.
Cool.
Let me go back into this.
Yeah.
If I wanted to put a picture in here, insert image,
Okay.
find it on my computer or upload it. I can take a snapshot right off my screen, which is cool, screenshot. Or I can paste a picture URL, which is an address to a picture on the web somewhere else. Very flexible.
Cool.
Use one of those three options, paste the picture in. Actually, let's do it right on the fly here. Let's find a picture of a black cat. This little cat over here with the... Okay, I'm going to do copy image location. And I'm using by URL. I'm going to paste it in here. Select. There it is. Resize it. There we go. Same thing I can do in a Word document or an Excel document. I did the same thing. Put the picture in and format it. And again, the formatting capabilities are a little bit more limited than what you have in Word, Excel. Remember, I mean, Office has been around for nearly 30 years now. Google Docs has been around since about 2007. There's a little bit of catch-up work they're still doing. But all in all, basics of what we're trying to do in Word or Excel, what most people need it for, easily can be recreated right within this interface. And again, that sharing capability is very powerful. If I had multiple people working on this, I could see them typing on the fly in this, which is very neat. I work on agendas or quotes with my colleagues at the company, and I see everyone typing. I see what they're working on, all in real time. I don't have to wait to get that copy back from them over email. We're working all on the same latest copy in real time together. We can chat with each other. This little box will turn into a chat button, and I can actually have an integrated chat with everyone. Hey, let's make these changes to this. I didn't like what this was. Again, collaboration, very, very powerful within here. Most people are not working alone, we're working with others, and this is the tool that allows us to leverage this kind of a group work, teamwork between colleagues, between end customers. I do things and I set up files to get information from clients on spreadsheets, and I share it out with them, say, hey, fill this out for me, and we can both look at it over the phone together without having to wait for them to email it to me. We're just looking at a web interface version of it with all the latest information loaded within there. So hopefully that triggers some ways that you'd be able to leverage this for yourself. And there are other files within here. I'm going to get into how you can store Office files, Word and Excel in here. That's going to be our last topic about how to transition from using a file server to using Google Drive for your file system. I'm going to show off that in a little bit. But here, I can make folders for myself. I can store my Google Docs. If I wanted to move my digital invoice into this Outlook story folder, I drag and drop it. The same kind of things I'm used to doing on my desktop, I'm recreating the same processes right within the cloud. Once you get the hang of the interface differences, you will be able to do the same kinds of tasks and organization things that you're used to on your desktop right within your Google Docs interface. So again, the uses for this are almost limitless. As I said, we use it for a digital filing cabinet. We're making Google Docs for agendas. We're making Google Docs for quotes, for information collected, all of customer passwords and things that we need to share amongst one another in terms of technology information for client needs. Everything's going into Google Docs now. Everything's secured. I don't have to worry about a laptop or a smartphone getting lost because everything is based upon a credential and a login to the Google Docs system. It's not based upon who had what data on their laptop before it was lost. So we're really shifting that paradigm. We're shifting that argument and that issue of, again, security. How secure is my data? It's only as secure as that login that you're giving that person. Okay? Here's another use of a subset of Google Docs. I want to show this because this is another neat aspect of the Google Docs platform. Google Forms. This is, again, another aspect of Google Docs which a lot of people don't know about because it's just not used as heavily, but it's in there and Google has been revamping it. They have a new version they just rolled out about a month ago, which is, I'm going to show this live demonstration here really quickly. So Google Forms is kind of like Google Moderator, where we're collecting data and information from third parties, but it's the level of customization we have on it is about 10 times greater, because as you can see here, I made a customer satisfaction survey that I could send out to customers. This took me about 5 minutes to make. I didn't know how to have code information. I didn't have to pay for a SurveyMonkey account. A lot of people are paying for SurveyMonkey or all these old fancy surveying tools out on the internet. Google Forms does all the same things at the cost of zero. Completely free. So I can build a survey really quickly. I'm going to go into this customer survey, show you how I can edit this and add information and how that data looks in the backside. But we use a very similar kind of customer survey for some of the work we do for getting testimonials from customers. So I share this out with them. They put the information in, submit it. We get it back, and I have access to it instantaneously, and it didn't cost me a thing. As you can see, I can put pictures within there. I can customize it. It's got all the glitz and glamour of all the fancy tools out there, except it doesn't have that nice big price tag on it. So that is a screenshot of a customer survey I made. Let's go into that same survey, just so you can see how it looks on the Google Docs side. So all I did to make that is click on create, and I clicked on Google Form. I'm making a form file. And Form leverages technology from Google Spreadsheets, but it takes it to the next level. So here's how it looks. And this is actually a form from last week's event. We did a wedding RSVP right within Google Forms, and you can see how that looks right here. So if you wanted to take your wedding RSVPs all digital, set them up in Google Forms, put all your information on it, and what's really neat about that is I can collect all the information of who's coming to my wedding in the digital realm, and let's see the responses that I got. Responses? See the summary? All right, how many people are bringing guests? How many guests are going to be brought? Who wanted what kind of main course for the meal? Look at that, nice little pie chart created. I didn't even have to lift a finger. Google Forms did all this for me, visualizing all the responses for me. If I had hundreds or thousands of responses, you can see how useful and how easy this becomes, leveraging it on the fly without even having to lift a finger. You don't even have to know how to make an Excel pie chart to be able to use this, because Google's doing all the legwork for you behind the scenes. So that's my personal example. Let's take this back into the business realm. So that survey, get out of there. All right, that survey that I made, customer satisfaction survey, here it is. Open it. I brought within an interface where I can edit anything within my survey. I can add text into my title. I've already added a few fields into here, but I could add whatever I want. On the bottom, click on Add Item. If I wanted to add another, maybe a paragraph entry. I wanted to maybe put an entry for what services would you like to see us offer? Question mark. I could put some help text on it. I could change what kind of response the person gives. I want it to be a paragraph so people can type some lengthy information in. I could even make that a required question or response. Not going to, but I could. They can't fill it out unless they complete that. Click on Done. And if I go into my live form, that's how it looks. And there's that field I just made. I didn't even have to do anything. I edited it. I went to See Live Form, and this is how it looks on the web. I could share this link with any customer, and I can get feedback from them really quickly. No coding, no cost added, nothing. I had to go in. It took me 5 minutes to make that Google form, edit it for my needs. This is actually from my template that I found off that templates website that I showed earlier. I took it, I rearranged it, I added in my personal touch with the computer image in there, and how does it look now when I get my results? Let's take a peek. This is the power of Google Forms that just blows me away. So I did actually one test response to get some information within here, but let's go ahead and see how that looks. So I go into responses now at the top, summary of responses. Now I can see exactly the information that I received. And here are the nice charts that it made for me without me having to tell it to do so. So again, it made a nice bar graph for me, showing me how many people gave me what kind of a feedback rating. I can now see all the text responses for all that qualitative information, and I can see, again, responses now. So this question was, what services did we provide you? And I can see what options were chosen on there. And the more information you get flowing into here, the more powerful this becomes, because again, you are now providing all that access to the end customer. You're not doing the heavy lifting. You're not picking up the phone and having to waste all that time with no response, things like that. You can email this out very easily by copying the link of the form, sending it to the people, hundreds of people, thousands of customers. It's up to you. Have them submit it and get that information that you're looking for. So Google Forms is a completely free tool, part of Google Docs that a lot of people just don't realize is there, but it has limitless potential. You could use, I've seen Google Forms used for at the school district I was working at, employee evaluation. Some departments were using it for that. We had people using it. You can use a sign-up form for events. We have done that sometimes for some of our larger corporate trainings that we've done. We've sent out a Google form to the company, ask who's going to be there. Are you going to be able to bring your own laptop or not? And we quickly collected that in a few days' time, which what otherwise would have taken manual labor a lot longer to do. Customer NDAs, et cetera, et cetera. So you can think of how you'd be able to leverage Google Forms for your workplace. And again, completely free. You can make as many Google Forms as you want. You can have as many active out there as you want at any given time. And if there is a form that has data on it that you don't want to collect responses for after a certain date, so for example, you had a limited time customer survey you wanted to give out. Let's go back into that Google form. Yep. In this window, get out of my results summary. I can print that results summary as well. It prints out very nicely. If I want to share it with the higher ups or a colleague of mine, I can do so. But if I wanted to stop getting responses on this, I can uncheck that under responses, and that turns off the form and pretty much cuts my end users off. So if I say, hey, Friday 3 p.m. is the last point in time where you're going to be able to submit responses, all I have to do is go in there, turn it off, and now no one, if they try to go in here and submit a response, you'll see, there we go. The form is no longer accepting responses. Contact the person of the form if you think this is a mistake. So it does work. Okay? Any other questions on Google Forms? I think it's pretty neat. If you find uses for it that will fit your needs, I think you'll really get some good results out of it.
Oh, I do have a question.
Yes.
If you want to collect information, say you create a form where people are putting in their email addresses, how do you then gather those email addresses to use them?
I'm going to use the summary responses screen for myself. Or, let's go back in here. I can go ahead and I can download my responses I received. And let me actually do it for the wedding one because I had more data in there. And I believe, here's the wedding RSVP I did. I can go into File, Download As, a CSV, same thing as that context that we were looking at earlier. Save it to my desktop. Let's go take a look at it. Here it is. And if I had emails within there, yes, that would have come through. But as you can see, I collected the information of everything that was custom filled out from this spreadsheet or this Google form. So their email addresses, yes, they would have shown in here for you, and you'd have a nice, easy collection of that. Hundreds, thousands of them. Instead of hand copying them, take your CSV file, manipulate it, and there you go. You have a gold mine of customer contact information or whatever kind of contact info you're looking to get.
And then you could probably somewhere load it into the contacts, right?
Oh yeah,
Somehow.
yeah. If you format it, now again, you'd have to format it properly to match the format that Google's looking for. But if you format this right and change your headers properly to how Google wants to see it, I can send you information about that. If you email me, you can then import it directly into your contacts. Yeah, it's doable. Probably would take you about 10 minutes of manual labor, but would save you hours and hours of frustration otherwise. Okay? All right, I got a few more I want to show, so let's keep moving here so we have a little bit of time for Q&A at the end. Free website. I see too many people going out there paying companies like 1&1, GoDaddy for these really junky free website creation tools that they claim are so great, which aren't that great. Google Sites is another niche part of the Google offering that doesn't cost you a thing. This is our old company website. We outgrew Google Sites because we needed a few more aspects to it that it wasn't able to provide us. But for about 2.5 years, my company website, forward-facing, was a Google site. Here's a screenshot of it. And I'm going to bring it up on the fly for you so you can see that I'm not kidding here. And I have helped a few other customers get their business websites or personal websites, club websites. When we did the Google Sites class about a year ago, we showed off how to do a personal photography club website or something similar to that. So you can make any kind of website with Google Sites. It's probably the toughest tool in the Google app suite to learn. So I highly recommend, if you really want to leverage Google Sites, that you go into our YouTube channel and you do a search for Google Sites on our YouTube channel. And I think we did 2 or 3 runs of that class. Watch the newest one so you see all the latest interface changes that Google introduced. But we show you step by step how to make your site, how to get it up on the web, and how to edit it for yourself. Add pictures, add calendars, embed Google Docs, all kinds of neat things you can do. But let me bring up our Google site from our old company website that was actually live until about February of this year. So let's go into my here. Is it on the navigation bar? Yeah, it's actually right at the top. Yeah, it's actually on the navigation bar right up here. So let me click on sites. And I'm going to go into the one form of Google site we still use frequently is our internal wiki site, which is a sort of our knowledge hub between my internal workers. So that's what we use that for. But here is our former company website right within Google Sites. So again, what's nice about this, it follows a very similar editing format to Google Docs. If I click on the editing button here, I could go ahead and do much of the same things I was doing in my Google Doc right on my home page. Take pictures out for myself, delete that if I want, take some text out if I want. So very simple. If I know how to use a Word document in the last 10 years, I can probably edit my website very easily and get this up and running for myself. I'm not going to save those changes since I didn't want to do that. As you can see here, there are plugins I can put in. So I had a blog going on our old website. There was a plugin that allows me to take whatever blog I make on my site, plug it in and show that on my home page. Customer testimonials we had showing on here. We had a gadget for Facebook, all the Facebook people we have on our Facebook page. I had a search functionality within here, multiple different pages within our site, all the different services we offer I added in here. And to be honest with you, how much time it took to build this site in earnest, I mean, it's not a 10-minute affair. I mean, to build something this complex probably took me about 8 to 12 hours to make, but still a lot less time than what even a professional web developer would have needed to recreate much of this kind of interface and information for ourselves. So again, bringing all this down to a easier level. And again, the sharing aspect that exists in Google Calendar, Google Docs is the same sharing we have on Google Sites. So look for the big sharing button and take a look at all the people that we have. So these are all the people that have touched our company website. All of them have editing access. I'm the owner of it, but I could add on or remove people that shouldn't have access to this. So if these people shouldn't have viewing or editing access to it right now, I could take them all off instantaneously and they would be removed from the project. Very useful for simple customer project websites that I would be making. And again, I could put this site on live on the internet. I don't have to have a purchased domain name. Of course, if you're using this for business, you would want to probably have a simple domain that someone could pipe in, like FireLogic.net or NilesLibrary.org. But if you don't want to pay for it, if it's something that you're just testing out or building a sort of like proof of concept, if you give someone that address, the link up here on the top of your site, as long as it's shared out with the internet, they will be able to get to it. Now I have locked this down because I don't want people getting access to this anymore since it's an old version of our site. I turned off the public on the web access. But again, if I want to bring this up on the web, make your site, set up your sharing access so that public on the web is the option of sharing or the level of accessibility that it has. And I'm not going to explain that concept of accessibility. Watch our Google Sites training video to get an understanding of what that means. And this is what people would be able to see on the internet, and that didn't cost me a dime to go ahead and make or bring up on the web. So something that otherwise probably would have taken a couple $1,000s, if you got the time and elbow grease to put into it, you can do exactly what we did and make your company website or project website or customer website right up on Google Sites, as long as you have a Gmail account or a Google Apps account for yourself. So, at the old school district I was at, Google Sites became very popular. We gave the teachers a professional tool to go ahead and edit their web pages. It was too hard to learn. It was too hard to navigate and use. Everyone dropped it. Google Sites was very quickly picked up, and I'd probably say today 75 to 80% of the department and teacher websites that are in use at the district are Google websites. Very high adoption rate, very easy to use. Students were using them for projects. And again, that's more on the educational side, but again, you can leverage the same kind of power with this on the business realm. And we have done so, and I've helped other customers do that as well. Works very nicely, doesn't cost you a dime, and quite easy to use. If you know Google Docs, you can probably learn Google Sites after watching our video, our 2-hour training video, and you can leverage it as well.
Do they have a blogging option?
On here? Yes, they do. Watch our Google Sites video and you'll see how to implement that.
Cool.
I ran our company blog on there for 2 years with very minimal effort.
Awesome.
Okay? Let's keep moving. My final big topic, and we are perfect on timing. This is going to take me about 5 minutes, and then we'll get into a little Q&A. I got a few free giveaways I want to hand out, and we'll be all set. So probably the neatest aspect of Google of the Google Apps system, actually one that companies have been reaching out to us about very heavily lately. I actually just got done moving a graphics design company in Chicago, about a 30-person company. These guys make advertisements for Heineken, all kinds of big name companies out there. A lot of the things you see day to day here in the area. They are now using Google Drive as their file server. There's no dock sitting in the office anymore. They got rid of it. Everyone is using this Google Drive tool, which is tied into the Google Docs. Because they need to use Office and they need to save graphics files and things that Google Docs is just a little too low level for them for. But they're using the Google Drive tool, which is the capsule or the silo that lets us share this information. They are using it as a replacement for a bona fide file system, file server. So let me show you what this entails. So businesses, organizations, I'm sure the Niles Library even has one of these as well in place. Everyone was putting in file servers in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. Well, the cloud's doing the same thing for us, but giving us a lot more access and on the cheap. So what this allows us to do is, the way this works, we create a single account on Google, whether it be a Gmail account or a paid Google Apps account. If this is for the workplace, I highly recommend you pay for the account that you're going to use as your central hub for Google Drive, because if something goes wrong or a file's missing that was supposed to be there, you can call Google and get that back. If it's a free Gmail account, Google's not going to want to hear from you. So be very careful with leveraging free Gmail in the work atmosphere, especially for this aspect. Nice part about this, every worker given access to Google Drive. There is a by default 30 gigabytes of shared storage within Google Drive that you're given, and you can purchase up to 16,000 gigabytes. A lot of people can't even visualize what 16,000 gigabytes entails. It's a lot of space. More storage space than most organizations, or most people at organizations in this room would ever need. But you can purchase extra space up to that amount if you needed to do so. So what are we doing here? We're taking our data that used to sit on a physical computer or a file system or one of these fancy file servers in the back office, and we're putting it into Google Drive. So Google Drive is both web accessible. Oh, that's our work one. I want to show that one off. Let's go into our personal one here off our personal account. Back into Drive. So this is the same. This is the web representation of our Google Drive system. And if we wanted to leverage this on desktops or tablets or mobile phones, here's an example of how it would look on my desktop. I install a Google Drive tool, completely free, as long as it's logged into a Google Apps or a Google Gmail account. And take a look at that. You tell me if you see any difference. Let me bring up the web interface. You tell me if you see a difference between what's in here and what's in my local desktop folder. You'd be hard-pressed to find any, because that is a one-to-one copy of everything that's on my web interface. So for example, I'm going to open up this, let's go into this Excel file. This is a pivot table example from our Office 2013 class a few weeks ago. Let's see how that looks here. Let's open up the Excel file over here on the web. Can anyone tell me if that looks different? Now again, since it's on the web interface, I can't edit it because Google Drive on the web cannot edit Excel files natively. But the powerful aspect here that we have to remember why we're using this is the accessibility, the backup aspect. So as opposed to keeping these files on a system that could be corrupted, lost, stolen, flooded, as I've seen a lot of times happen in our recent big rains and our nasty sewage system that we have in this local area, this would not be a problem because everything that's kept in Google Drive on the web is accessible on my local computer as well for me. So how this works, I have a company of 20 people. I set up a Google Drive account, basically a Google account. I usually do like storage at mycompany.com, which is the storage account that we're going to use. We install Google Drive on every single person's computer. I've got Mac users, I've got Windows users, I've got people using it on their smartphones and tablets. Everyone installs Google Drive, everyone logs into this account, and the files pull into their computer. When Johnny works on the file, say for example that pivot table Excel file, he works on it, edits it, saves it in Google Drive. Google Drive pushes it up to the cloud ecosystem, and then Google Drive pushes it back down to every other worker on their personal machines. So not only do these people have access to it when they're flying, when they're at the airport, they may not have internet access, they want to work on these things, or they're going home, or they're at the library and they want to be able to access it as well. Now they're able to do so wherever they are. We don't need VPNs and all this crazy corporate technology that was put into place to get around these barriers of the office walls. That doesn't exist anymore. If you can install Google Drive on your machine, and if you have a Google Drive account set up where you can upload all your data that you were using on your file server before, we can now do everything we used to do off our file server, but now we're not limited by being stuck at the office or not having the latest copy of the file because I don't have the VPN access, or the file server went down yesterday. Google Drive, again, leverages the automatic backups that Google does, the cloud aspect, the storage space that can be purchased up to 16,000 gigabytes worth. A lot of these limits that we were running into that businesses are telling me, hey, what should I do today? Our file server's about to die. Should I buy a new one for $5,000? Or should we just go into Google Drive and just use that as our virtual file system? More and more organizations are finding this to be the much better option. Very simple to set up. All you have to do is email out all your workers, tell them install this, use these credentials to get into the account, and now everybody has access to those files that would have taken an IT team of 2-3 people 3-4 days to implement. We're doing the same thing in a matter of an hour.
So when you say install Google Drive, you're saying something different than just opening an account with your Gmail?
So we have an account, but in order to use it on our local desktop like this, so we have a folder, as you can see. Google Drive makes a folder that I can access right on my computer. You have to install the tool. You might not be able to see it, but there's a little tool that runs on your computer. And that's the tool that acts as the broker between the Google Drive web system and your computer. Because otherwise there's no easy way to do that. You'd have to live on the web interface to be able to use your Office files like this and save it in the Google Drive. This tool allows you to have a folder just like a Windows folder, a Mac folder, dump everything into it, and it does all the heavy lifting. Move it into the cloud, move it back. Give a latest copy to Johnny, Ed, Jackie, without you having to send out the files or put it up on the file server.
Is it real time, like every change?
Instantaneous.
Okay.
It relies on the autosave functionality. So if you have autosave set to 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes on your Office copy, most of the time it's set to about 10 minutes. So every time an autosave is done and it saves it into the folder, Google then goes ahead, does this quick scan, sends it up, gives it latest copy to everyone else. 10 people, 20 people, 100 people. It's up to you how many people you want to put on this. I don't know of any limit. So.
And you say you don't need the internet for that kind of transfer?
You do need the internet for that transfer. What I was getting at was the fact that you're getting off the internet, you want to work on an airplane for a trip that you're doing to San Francisco. Some people ask me, well, can I work on the files since I don't have internet? Of course you can. As soon as you touch the internet again, the file is going to be moved back up to Google Drive and the latest copy gets put on.
Okay.
So the synchronization is happening as long as the computer has access to the internet connection for you. So people that are offline, people that are working at the library that may not be in the internet, work on the file, get back to the office, zip, moves it back up for us. Kind of the things we used to do when we take a copy of the file from the office for the weekend, work on it, get back, upload it again to the server. This program's doing that for us behind the scenes, so we don't have to worry about making a mistake. I think it's pretty neat technology. I mean, we never used to be able to do something like this. This was, again, the data silo. What I had on my computer or what I had on the file server, those were sort of separate unless I emailed them out to everyone or we had a nice bona fide file server to give access to every one of these files for. Maybe Macs had a little bit tougher time getting access to it. That's not an issue anymore. Everyone has access no matter where they go. Their smartphones, they make a Google Drive app for Android, iPhone, Android tablets, the Windows tablets, any kind of device you want to be able to use this on, in some form or fashion, you can get access to these files now. And again, the nice part, if someone loses their laptop, or if someone, a laptop crashes, and before they had the master copy of the file, and God forbid that was last year's financials, an Excel file, if it's in Google Drive, we don't care. Laptop can get lost, damaged, broken, stolen. As long as it was in Google Drive and the laptop touched internet at some point in the last few days, that file's up on Google Drive and it's saved. And it's safe. So file loss, data loss is starting to become a thing of the past if we're learning to leverage nice tools like this. And Google Drive, Microsoft offers a very similar tool called SkyDrive. We showed it off a few weeks ago in an Office 2013 class. I think it's pretty neat. It works pretty well. The only downside is that you cannot purchase as much storage as you can with Google Drive. You can do up to 16,000 gigabytes on Google Drive. With a SkyDrive, you can only do about 100 gigabytes. So they're a little less mature, and SkyDrive is by Microsoft. That's Microsoft's solution to this cloud storage technology.
So I'm trying to learn this like for my home use and possibly take it into work. So would you recommend that I do Google Drive rather than SkyDrive because Google Drive is used more in business and you get more storage, or would you recommend the SkyDrive because it's a Microsoft product?
If your office is very reliant on Microsoft Office, which it sounds like it may be, SkyDrive may be the better bet for you. Just because, and Ruth, you saw we were doing this, you can actually do live collaboration within someone working in an Excel file, and they can then have a web interface version of that, of Excel. And the interface are very, very similar for that. If you rewatch our Office 2013 class, that was about 3 weeks ago, we show off that technology. And you can learn how to use SkyDrive instead of Google Drive. But the concepts are the same. Leveraging the cloud as a file system, as a file storage space, instead of keeping it on a file server or on a computer that is more of a silo as opposed to a fully accessible product by multiple parties.
The Google Drive account is
Free.
tied into your email account.
Yes. So when you have a Google account, think of it like this. You have a Google account, you have access to Gmail, all the tools we were showing today, contacts, calendar, Drive,
Right.
all tied into it.
If I have more than one Gmail account,
There's not. Then they would be separate. And you'd have a second Google Drive for one for another, and then one Google Drive for that one. So every Gmail account has its own Google Drive.
so the how would I do that on my laptop or whatever? I'd have to log into the specific
You can only be signed into
one.
one Google Drive account on your desktop program at a time. You can't have multiple.
So
ones
it will
logged
keep
in.
things separate.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was my
Yeah, you can
concern.
keep different things in different accounts for yourself. You had a club account that you wanted to keep separate from your personal, from a work one. Yeah, they are completely separate silos, but they all leverage all the power of the cloud between the different.
So the automatic save will only work when I open that particular Drive account.
When you're in that particular account, yes. Yeah. So they are mutually separate. You can share things between the different accounts if you want, but by default they are separate entities up on Google systems. Okay? And if you're curious how SkyDrive looks, I use SkyDrive actually for all my personal things on my computer. And next SkyDrive, I have my little SkyDrive folder here. Very similar to Google Drive. Looks the same way, works the same way, has a little bit different check mark on it for files that are synchronized with the website, but the notion is the same. And actually just show this really quickly here. Let me open up this file here. This is a studying document I'm using for a test I'm going to take. I can go ahead and I can log into my web SkyDrive account. So this is the alternative to Google Drive. Go to skydrive.com and I'm going to show you how that file looks on the web. Okay, Here's my SkyDrive account, again, just like I showed you with Google Drive. Let's do it in that kind of view. One-to-one copy of everything, works the same way. Let's go into that study guide I was in just now. Their version of web applications are called web apps, so Word web app, Excel web app, and I can edit this right on the web for myself. And this is how it looks. There we go. That's that copy. That's that copy, and there you go. One-to-one copy. And the interface, the nice part about SkyDrive for organizations that are very heavy on Office, there is a fairly seamless transfer of interface and how it works, and I can do the same kind of things right within both of them.
How long has it been around, SkyDrive versus the Google
Google
Apps?
Drive.
Or Google Drive?
The SkyDrive and Google Drive actually have been around for relatively the same amount of time. I think SkyDrive is actually a little bit older than Google Drive. Because Google Drive was added, Google added it after the fact, after it created the whole Google Docs ecosystem. And it actually was catching up to Microsoft in the whole desktop synchronization realm. They did it because Microsoft SkyDrive was becoming so popular. People will love the technology, they want to do it, and they were saying, hey, can we do this with Google? Google introduced, I think it was only, Google Drive was only introduced late 2011 or early 2012. So it hasn't been that long. SkyDrive's been around since about 2010, I believe. So a little bit
Is
longer.
Dropbox something too? that
Dropbox
you-
is very similar. Dropbox is similar, but the amount of space they give is not as much as Google Drive or SkyDrive. That's why I don't like Dropbox, is because they're very chintzy with their storage. They give you like 2 gigabytes. SkyDrive gives you 7 gigabytes for free, and Google Drive gives you 15 gigabytes for free. If you have a business account with Google Apps, you get 30 gigabytes on Google Drive. So Dropbox is just they're too low. They don't offer enough space as far as I'm concerned. But the notion, Dropbox, in all honesty, Dropbox, they are the innovators. They are the ones that started this whole trend of doing things like this. But I think SkyDrive and Google Drive will have much better implementations of the technology. Dropbox is just a little old hat at this point. Okay, so that's SkyDrive. Watch the Office 2013 class in its entirety, and I'll show you all the bells and whistles of what SkyDrive can do. But Google Drive, SkyDrive, the basics around it are the same. Having local access, and there you go. Look at that, what showed. Derrick Wlodarz is editing this document. It told me right away. And if I had more people in there, it would tell me everyone that's in there. Of course, that's my own account, so it shows my name twice. But if there were different people that were shared, this was shared out to, I would see exactly who was working on it. So very similar to the Google Docs approach, but this may be nicer for those that are very used to Office interface, don't want to relearn Google Docs even though it's easy, and they just want to keep doing what they're used to doing.
That's everybody after a while.
Yeah, I agree. I fully agree with you. So that's Google Drive. Let's go back to our moderator page and see if we had any new. There's our black cat over here. Let's go. Google.com. Oh, I think moderator was over here actually. Google.com/moderator. And that was our for work life questions. Few questions. All right, we got a few questions here. Let's take a look. If contact groups are large, will my message be sent to their junk or spam? Good question. Whoever entered that. That's one thing you have to be careful about. Yes, the anti-spam and spam filtering regulations these days are very strict because, of course, so much email is spam this day and age. So yes, you do want to be careful with how many you send it to at once when you're using contact groups. I would say, to be on the safe side, keep your emails, your blast emails like that, down to 100 people or less. If you're going over 100 people from your Gmail interface, you're going to have a much higher likelihood of being marked as a spammer, and you're going to probably be hitting people's spam folders a lot more frequently. So my key marker is 100 people or less on blast emails. How many people can connect at one time? I might preface that question by saying, are we talking about accessing Google Drive, or which particular part of Google?
I was thinking that if we were
Or Google Docs document that we were showing? Is that what you were asking?
that kind of thing. Is there a limit to how many people you can connect?
The limit was so high, I don't even remember it, but it is very high. However, keep in mind, if you have 1,000 people in a Google Doc, imagine how crazy that would be. I mean, it would be like a Picasso on your screen in terms of a document. But it is possible. Google does allow you to do it. I have been on very large projects where we had 10, 15, 20 people working on one thing at a time. It's a little hard to get your own space on the document at that instance, but it is doable. Technology does allow you to do it. It's pretty neat once you see it in action. If you watch our Google Docs class that we did, we show off multiple people working on it at once, and it's really neat watching with your own eyes. It's pretty nice technology. Any other questions about anything Google Apps related? I showed off all these cool tools. I really hope that people go back to their workplaces or their own personal lives and use some of these things, because I'm using them for my own personal life, or my company and my customers are using them. They work pretty well. Again, it's a little bit of a rethinking of how we do things in terms of our digital life, but once you get the hang of it, it starts to flow, and you'll see the kinds of possibilities that you have much greater than what we used to be able to do with just Word and Excel files. Much, much greater. Go ahead.
I had worked with a bulk email system called Salsa, and we would send to like over 1,000, and they would have a spam checker in there, and they would say,
if you're doing that kind of large email, you have to use a provider like that. So you can't get around that by using Gmail.
Oh, okay, because they have something in there that lets it pass.
They are considered an approved bulk mail sender. The rest of the internet knows that they are doing that sort of thing for customers, so they have a little bit of a pass above you sending out those kind of large emails. So yes, that is one thing that if you're trying to send out thousands of messages at a time, Gmail's not your bet. I'm focused more on you're sending it out to 20, 30, 40 people at a time, do it within Gmail. But if you're sending out bulk mail, true bulk mail of that size, you have to be using a Constant Contact or MailChimp or Salsa, thing of that nature, because those are the big players and they have special approval to send out these kind of mass messages without getting flagged easily. Any other questions? Anything Google Apps related? Any apps that I didn't show that you're curious about in the moment that we have here?
On the website,
Yes.
what was it that Google discontinued free within the last year?
Google
about
Reader,
the website?
we talked about?
No, about the websites. There was something about business
Google sites?
about business websites that they had. Was it domain
It was-
names or?
No. I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
It was. They had a version of Google Apps that was sort of a middle ground between the Gmail and the paid Google Apps for Business service. It was called Google Apps Free Edition.
Okay.
It was sort of the business version, but given away for free to companies with 10 people or less. They cut that out because there was no support attached to it, and people were expecting them to give support on the tool because it was the business version of it. So they cut it out. I still have one or two of those in my control, but as I tell people, the $50 a year you spend per person for the amount of functionality you get and the support you get, well worth the money.
Mm-hmm.
Worth every dime, worth probably 5 times more what they're charging for that service. So yes, that is the big thing. A lot of people were angry about that, but I, as a technician in the industry, I see why they had to get rid of it, because it was people had unreasonable expectations from the service.
Well, but again, it was what she was saying as far as these discontinued ones. I read more about them, but I was using the one with the health information.
Sure.
That they just
Google Health?
Yeah.
Google Health, yeah, they got rid of that.
got rid of it.
Yeah, and if there are
and all these
services that
things.
they find internally that aren't getting the uptake or reception, or they're too expensive to maintain and they're given away for free, there's always a risk of that going
Well,
away.
I understand, like with the Google Health,
Mhm.
perhaps, or the business, as you
Yeah.
were saying, but the Google Reader, I don't understand. I mean, that's
It was
pretty
nice.
straightforward and doing whatever, and
Yeah.
that's the only fear as far as if the other ones were more niche.
Yeah.
I guess Google Reader, I didn't consider that as a niche product, and so that
No, Google did, but I mean,
Yeah.
this is not a Google-only problem. I mean, Apple does it. I mean, Apple doesn't make a box version of iWork anymore. A lot of people are angry about that. Microsoft has cut things out of Office that weren't used as well. So Google's not the only one that needs to do a little trimming behind the scenes. So I don't want to give Google too much heat. There are tools, that I like that we're taking away, like Google Reader, but they are business. They need to do what they need to do
Yeah.
to keep functioning.
I
So.
guess I worry though about adopting one and then
So the tools I showed off here today, the reason I focused on them is because as someone in the industry that has a lot of experience with these tools, I don't feel these things are going to be going away anytime soon. I know, talking with customers, talking with other colleagues in the industry across the United States, I see these things being adopted, and usually when they have a higher adoption rate, they are being used on a day-to-day basis, they tend to not be getting the attention of the trimming block when spring comes around. So I can't guarantee it, but you have my honest word that these things I showed here today are probably here to stay for the long term. They're either going to continue to be updated, or they're going to be modified or rolled into another product, but they're not going to be taken away entirely.
Yeah, I think so too. I think everyone I know.
Google
is
Drive is
starting to
becoming
use
popular.
it.
Gmail's the most popular email service in America this day and age. Google Apps is becoming more and more popular for the workplace. As people are leveraging these tools, I mean, there's no incentive for Google to take away a tool that's being used so heavily, like Google Drive, when so many organizations are moving onto it, that would destroy word of mouth and adoption, especially since they're trying to kill, they're trying to take on the big 800-pound gorilla Microsoft in the corporate workspace. That would not bode well with their corporate base. So there are logical business reasons why they're probably not going to be getting rid of a lot of the higher end tools, the stuff I was showing off here today, as opposed to, Google Reader, yeah, it was used by a lot of people, but again, it was more so used by free Gmail users. It wasn't a paid business product, so we have to keep that in perspective as well. But are there any more questions that anyone had about anything?
As opposed to Google Docs,
Sure.
I still see more discussion of OpenOffice or LibreOffice, and I don't really see that
Because I don't
popping
see,
up
I don't
as
see
much.
That, I don't see that happen. You're talking about, you said more people are talking about OpenOffice?
Just when you're looking for things and discussions of what do you use, that kind of stuff. Are you familiar with Lifehacker?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I
when they
have
run
heard
their
of that.
surveys about what's the best one to use or whatever, they're always talking about those as opposed to the Google
Well,
Docs.
let's frame our
kind of
discussion
thing.
properly, because are they talking about desktop-based suites?
See, that's
because
what
that's
I'm.
the desktop
That's what
based
I'm
suite.
asking. I
And
guess.
if we're talking strictly about something that is not cloud-powered, then yes, OpenOffice, LibreOffice are very good options to Office.
Yeah.
But we're not talking apples to apples, and we're comparing OpenOffice to
Okay,
Google Docs.
that's I guess what
I
was
think
asking.
Google Docs blows away what OpenOffice can do or LibreOffice can do. And they're both free of charge.
Yeah.
So what I showed you today, you can't do any of this with OpenOffice. So you pick your poison. I
Well,
think Google
I
Docs
just-
is a better bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're talking about just desktop based, I want to just be able to sit on my desktop off the internet and work on a Word file. Yeah, compared to Office, well, you have OpenOffice or LibreOffice. They're completely free. They're
Right.
perfectly fine alternatives.
I have a question. As far as social media goes, Google, I think, has something called Google Analytics that produces reports,
Yes.
like on how your website is being visited,
Yep.
and
Metrics about how your website is doing. Yep.
yeah, is that somewhere in this?
Yes, it is. It is, and I'm not going to get into it because it's a little deeper of a product to get into.
Is it in the site?
It's on our YouTube channel. We did a class on it at the Evergreen Park Library. 3-hour class. You can learn from start to finish how to implement it, and you can use it on your Google site if you build one, and capture feedback and metrics about who's coming to your site, where are they going, how long are they staying, what part of the country are they coming from, all that juicy information. That's all Google Analytics. And our class that we did, it was January of this year, you can rewatch that one. And that was targeted for the business community. It wasn't targeted for personal needs, so it's very relevant to probably what you're trying to do with it.
Cool.
Okay. Anything else? I got a few giveaways. I got 3 giveaways I want to hand out. We have 4 guests, so
Good chance.
one person's going to be left out here.
I didn't sign up, so that's fine. I'll be out of it.
You know what? You had a lot of great questions today, though. So I want to offer you something because I love people that have great questions for us. So which do you prefer? I have a Podio shirt, I have a FireLogic t-shirt, or I have a FireLogic hat. Which one would you want?
I will take the FireLogic hat.
FireLogic hat, okay. And it comes with an extra special. We have a 10% usual discount for library patrons. This is an extra special 20% off if you ever need our services, okay? So I've got 3 people left, 2 items. I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10. What is it?
6.
7.
Nope.
1.
No?
Try again.
8.
There you go. Which one do you want? FireLogic shirt or Podio shirt?
A FireLogic.
FireLogic shirt. All right. Here's your 20% off. There you go.
Thanks, that's great. 8.
All right. Who can answer?
I have 1.
What?
I have the
You already have one? All right. If that's the case,
Everybody wins.
everyone won.
I'm just showing up with pays off. Thanks.
All right. I thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. I wish that a few more people showed up today, but that's okay. We all had a good time. We learned a few things. Again, I'm hoping that you can take some of these tools, use them for your own personal life, your work life. If you're interested in how I use these things in my personal life, go to our YouTube channel, watch this class for the personal items that we showed off, the wedding RSVP, and all kinds of other ways that I use Google Docs and things. I use Google Docs for online recipe organization between my girlfriend and I. So all kinds of neat stuff that we showed off. So check that out. Check out our other classes on there. And I hope you return for our other classes that we're doing later this year. They're all free, and they all have juicy information just like this one, and they're usually a pretty fun time. So.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for coming. I'm going to start taking my equipment down. If you have any personal questions or related to your own needs, just come by and have a chat with me, and I'll definitely help you out, okay?
Oh, a couple questions.
Sure.
In an early version of a Yahoo